Kamala Harris is holding a huge event apparently in Clarkston, Georgia today, a town known as the most diverse square mile in America. I mean, that speaks to the changing demographics in Georgia and why the state is very much in her sights right now.
Without question. I mean, she will be in Georgia later on for her first joint appearance with former President Barack Obama. He's been out on the campaign trail with her extensively. This will be the 6th battleground state. But choosing Georgia as the place to have this joint appearance is certainly interesting. The diversity of Clarkston is something that is going to be obvious to people attending the rally, obviously, from there. But it's also something that she is trying to speak to show that Georgia has more opportunity for her. I was in the Atlanta suburb just a couple weeks ago talking to just the rising influx of Asian American voters. Some support her, some do not. But certainly this is a new face of Georgia. But, Jim, we also have to say Bruce Springsteen will be at the concert or at the rally tonight. But we're also getting word that she's getting some more star power as she goes on the road. Beyonce will appear alongside her for the first time on Friday in Beyonce's hometown of Houston. We've known all week that the vice president is going to Texas for a campaign rally and appearance talking about abortion rights. And there's been some speculation that Beyonce would be there. We are now confirming that she will be there on stage with Willie Nelson as well. Beyonce, of course, allowed the Harris campaign to use Freedom as the campaign anthem the moment she ascended to the top of the Democratic ticket just a few months ago. So it was widely believed that there would be a joint appearance. Now that is confirmed. That is happening. Jim, you remember all this speculation in Chicago at the Democratic convention. Is Beyonce coming? Is she not coming? An advisor said, look, that would have sort of threatened to overshadow potentially the vice president's own speech. But tomorrow, they definitely want to draw attention to this. She will be on stage with Willie Nelson down in Houston, Jim. Trying to pull out all the stops and maybe lend a little help to Colin Allred, who was in that surprisingly tight contest with Ted Cruz down in Texas for the U.S. Senate. Jeff Zeleny, as always, I know we'll see you out on the campaign trail in the coming days. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Kamala Harris is heading to Georgia today for her first joint event with Barack Obama. Of course, he brings the political star power. But look who else is joining the vice president. Bruce Springsteen, Tyler Perry, Spike Lee, and Samuel L. Jackson. While Harris looks to energize her voters in the Peach State, her running mate is making 3 stops in North Carolina, a state Democrats haven't won since 2008. Donald Trump is also in the crucial Sun Belt today with events tonight in Arizona and Nevada, while J.D. Vance campaigns in Michigan. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez is in Clarkston, Georgia, where the vice president will be later today. Priscilla, I know you have some new information about the way that the campaign is trying to seize on the news that we got from the New York Times and the Atlantic this week about John Kelly's criticisms of his former boss.
Yeah, Dana, that's exactly right. I've obtained a digital ad that the campaign is going to be running in the battleground states as part of a $370 million ad buy that essentially uses what John Kelly said about former President Donald Trump from his remarks to the New York Times and the Atlantic, and it uses the vice president's response at the town hall condemning that and criticizing the former president. So that gives us, again, a window into this closing argument by the Harris campaign as they come to these final days of the election. Now, I will also note, however, to your point earlier, that a star power is coming out in force over these last several days. That includes with Beyonce. Beyonce going to join the vice president tomorrow in Houston, where they plan to amplify their message on reproductive freedom. Of course, this has been an issue that the vice president has spoken to often, and it is one that she is using to close out these final days of the campaign. Now, Texas may be an unusual place to do that. It's not a battleground, but it is what sources say is the epicenter of what they call the Trump abortion ban. So they hope to amplify that alongside Beyonce before then going to Michigan to be joined with Michelle Obama. But coming down to today, the vice president will be joined for the first time with former President Barack Obama It is their first time on the campaign trail together as they try to get out the vote. Of course, here in Georgia, early voting has already begun. This is what the campaign wants to capitalize on. So as they turn to this phase of the campaign where they're trying to turn out those votes, this is going to be a rally set to do that. Of course, headlined by Bruce Springsteen, who often makes an appearance in the waning days of an election for Democratic candidates. So certainly a big event here in Georgia as they try to turn out the vote over the next several days, Dana.
Thank you so much for that reporting, Priscilla. Appreciate it. And there has been a lot of new battleground state polling that came out in the last 24 hours or so. And just look at this. The conclusion is inescapable. This race is a coin toss. New CNN polling averages the six of the 7 swing states, and it shows no clear leader in any of them. Now, Trump has a very small advantage in the Sun Belt states. Harris has a equally small advantage in the Rust Belt. I want to bring in my exceptional reporters here with me, CNN's Jeff Zeleny, CNN's Gloria Borger, Zolan Kano-Youngs of the New York Times, and Leanne Caldwell of the Washington Post. It's just remarkable to see those numbers. I mean, have you ever seen anything like this? And I just want to say, I'm sure you guys are all hearing this from your sources as well. I mean, that's sort of the public polling. They're seeing the same thing in their private polling and in their data analytics, which takes into account a whole lot more than polling.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tight. And, you know, the estimates are, some people in the Harris campaign say 4% undecided voters. And we saw some of them last night, you know, in the town hall. But that's a small number. And a lot of those people may stay home and decide that they don't want to vote. So how many people are these candidates trying to persuade right now? It's as if they have to pick single people out of the crowd and say, please vote for me, please vote for me. That'll make the difference.
Yeah. Beyonce, this is your reporting, Jeff, about bringing Beyonce out, particularly in her home state of Texas, which is obviously not a swing state, but it is a place that Harris is going for other reasons.
Look, it's finally happening. I mean, for all the rumors that we all remember at the Democratic convention, is she coming into the room? No, she didn't, obviously, and that would have overshadowed the vice president's acceptance speech. But I'm told she is going to be appearing with the vice president tomorrow in Houston, as is Willie Nelson. And the point of the vice president making a detour, I guess, to Houston and Texas is a couple of things. One, to really shine a light on abortion rights. It's one of the central arguments of her candidacy. She's doing that through a new ad, but also, you know, for a bit of fun. So it's, I think, probably a good example of this. You know, the closing campaign, the closing arguments, it's not one thing. It is a sharpening of a critique against the former president. It is talking about issues that she represents, abortion rights. And it's also trying to show a little optimism and hope and joy. And I think Beyonce is one way to do it. And she's no stranger to politics, obviously. The minute that Vice President Harris became the top of the ticket, she authorized the use of freedom. So it's been the anthem at every Harris rally. I'm thinking back to 2016, though, when Jay-Z and Beyonce did a concert for Hillary Clinton.
With Hillary Clinton, I think we can
Cleveland.
show that. I was thinking
and
that.
it was a moment. It certainly was we can see it right there. And that was the time when Ohio was still a swing state. And of course, Secretary Clinton lost that race.
Yeah.
So there is a limit to celebrities. I remember being in the crowd for that, and it was just on the cusp of the election.
Yeah.
And no one was really sure what was happening underneath. There was a lot of confidence there. This time is all different. But 2016 hangs over this race in every way. Democrats are still haunted by that. That is what's sort of fueling all of the new ground game strategies, et cetera.